I'm getting some feedback. It's got to be from the Zoom.
Oh, can you put your, turn your volume off?
Okay. No.
You don't need the volume, do you?
No. Better? Yep. Okay. Tom, can you hear? Yay! I'm getting it. I can see the thumbs up from Tom right on my screen. I'm so excited.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you everyone for bearing with me as I kind of work through this new setup that we have on my laptop. I want to welcome everybody on behalf of the governing board to tonight's meeting. It is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. It's 6:30 p.m. This is a regular meeting of our Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board. Tonight, members of the public are attending both in person and remotely through YouTube Live. And in a few minutes, I'm going to read the rules of order for public comment at governing board meetings. If you wish to make a comment remotely, you should have signed up using the Google form that's available under the YouTube Live description. If you don't see the link to the Google form to speak, you can refresh your YouTube live stream. If you're attending in person, there's a purple form on the table where you signed in, or you should have signed in when you came in tonight. If you wish to speak, please fill out this form and hand it to our board secretary, Amy Sams. The information requested on these forms is required for our meeting minutes. There is a public hearing this evening, and so if you wish to make a public comment during the hearing, you can sign up prior to the meeting that I just described just now, or you'll have another opportunity to do so when we open that public hearing. For now, I'd ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Governing Board welcomes public comments at its meetings by providing 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. If your topic of interest is not on the agenda, you may address the board during the public comments time slot near the beginning of the meeting. Or if the topic is on the agenda, you may speak just prior to the discussion of that agenda topic. In the event there is a public hearing, as there is this evening, the opportunity to speak will be reopened. If you're joining remotely and wish to make a public comment, you should have already submitted the Google form provided with the YouTube link. For those attending in person, I already said that, hand the purple form to the secretary. I don't have any at this moment, so I'm going to assume that we have no in-person public speakers. In any event, speakers will be called upon when it is their turn to address the board. For those attending remotely, you may choose to enable your camera. As a reminder to remote attendees who wish to speak, please unmute your microphone when you're called upon. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the board. The sound of a buzzer indicates the end of your 3 minutes. In the event of a large number of speakers, the board may need to limit the time so that we can conduct the business on this agenda. By law, the board cannot discuss, consider, or vote on topics that are not on the agenda. This assures the community that they are aware of the topics that will be discussed this evening. If you wish to discuss a topic through written communication, board members' contact information can be found on the district's website. We appreciate the community's attendance and comments at this meeting. At this time, it is my pleasure to call upon board member Eileen Jackson to present our super volunteer recognition this evening of Tracy Ray, Sunrise Drive Elementary School parent. I would be glad to. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting. So we on the governing board really like the fourth Tuesday of the month because it's generally super volunteer month, or super volunteer night, and we get the opportunity to thank those volunteers who contribute so much to the education community of CFSD. Well, tonight is that night, and our spotlight will be shining on Miss Tracy Ray, this month's Catalina Foothills School District Super Volunteer.
So our audience came here to see you, Tracy. So if you just stand up so everybody can see you for a sec. I won't make you come up here with me, but you can just say hi to everybody. And you can come up here if you'd like, sure. Okay. We're going to talk about you a little bit and try to do our best to describe the contributions that you make to our district every day on our Sunrise Drive and our Orange Grove campuses. So Tracy was nominated for this award by Principal Andrea Davidson and Vice Principal Carmela Zega of Sunrise Drive Elementary School. From all reports, Tracy, you've been a key volunteer at Sunrise Drive Elementary since you set foot on that campus with your daughters. I have to believe that Ms. Davidson and Ms. Zega are pretty bummed that you're finally going to be moving over to Orange Grove completely next year, but I guess I would say that Sunrise Drive's loss will be Orange Grove Middle School's gain. I'm going to read you just a little bit of what Principal Davidson and Vice Principal Zega have written about you. So as a volunteer, Ms. Ray truly exhibits the spirit of Sunrise in her interactions with students, staff, and family members. She eagerly volunteers to support teachers who need volunteers, in addition to school-wide events. And speaking of school-wide events, you've taken on the responsibility over the last several years for one of Sunrise's biggest fundraisers, the Mathathon. So I want to share with you my history with the Mathathon. So like you, once I retired from working and decided to stay home with my kids, I had 3 kids who went through Sunrise, and I became a very active Sunrise Drive volunteer. And I was on the executive committee at the time when we made the decision to kind of chuck those traditional fundraisers like gift wrap sales in favor of the Mathathon. And I think at the time, it was the very first Mathathon in the district. I think it was the first a-thon in the district of any subject matter. And you know, it was pretty successful. The fundraiser was a hit. Parents loved it, kids loved it, teachers loved it because we timed it for the preparation period right before, at the time, it would have been the Ames testing week. So kids were brushing up on their math skills right before their Ames testing week. And I remember that we made a decent chunk of change from the Mathathon, even in that first year, but nothing like what you've been able to bring in your management of the Mathathon at Sunrise Drive. Ms. Davidson tells me that this fundraiser consistently rakes in over $20,000 each year, and she attributes so much of that success to your management and your enthusiasm for the event. That $20,000 represents about a third of the Sunrise Drive FFO's annual budget, just to give you some perspective on the impact that your management of this event has on the lives of our teachers and our staff and our students at Sunrise Drive. One of Tracy's other main volunteer efforts is with Steppers. With Steppers, Tracy works really closely with Sunrise Drive's PE teacher, Gigi Dover, to run it. And so while Ms. Dover is in the NPR with a PE class, Tracy's out on the field managing the students who are up there running. You scan cards. She stays on top of any problems that the kids are having so she can let Ms. Dover know. You can always be heard cheering the kids on, running laps with them, and encouraging them to keep going. And then you lend your enthusiasm and creativity to the end of the year celebration of Steppers, the Fun Run, by devising fun and silly obstacles for the kids to navigate during that run. Your work with Steppers and the Fun Run has created memories for our students that I think they'll carry with them for a very, very long time, as well as hopefully a positive relationship to physical activity and fitness. Tracy, I spoke to some of your colleagues from Sunrise and Orange Grove. Jill Green, our Sunrise Drive FFO president, who's sitting right over there, here's how she describes you. High energy, so organized, always with a giant smile on your face, never seeking the spotlight. It's always about the kids. This is probably killing you, right? She's a great example for all of our other volunteers. Anjali Matalone, our former Sunrise Drive FFO president and now a member of the FFO at Orange Groves Middle School, she echoed many of Jill's accolades about you and added that anyone who's been involved with FFOs in any of our schools knows those volunteers, the ones that can always be counted on, the ones that always say yes with a smile on your face, the ones that will always show up for the kids, the staff, the school. Tracy is one of those. She's definitely a super volunteer. Anjali pointed out that Tracy is the book fair chair at Orange Grove. I was also a former book fair chair. I feel like we're the same person.
She's
Another
destined for the
huge
school board.
undertaking. Pardon?
She's destined for the school board.
Yes. Huh. Another huge undertaking that Tracy, you do right alongside everything you do at Sunrise. And like most of our super volunteers, I have a feeling that you volunteer in your personal life as well. And I know that your daughters, or at least a couple of them, are involved in dance. And that makes you a dance mom. And we all know what that means in terms of time and commitment to support those kinds of events. You seem to have an endless capacity to give of your time and your talent to support kids. And that's what makes us so grateful to have you and your family be part of CFSD's family. Tracy's leaving Sunrise at the end of the year as she and her family get ready to celebrate Taylor's promotion from 5th grade. That's going to leave a big Tracy-sized hole in the Sunrise volunteer troops, but true to your form, you're busy training your replacement for the math-a-thon. Jill Green told me that she was a little bit concerned about having to train this new volunteer to run the math-a-thon. She's a kindergarten mom, which is great. You'll have her for 5 years. 6? 5 years? 6? And she told me that you came to her unprompted and said, Jill, I've got this. Go do something else. I'll take care of this for you. So Tracy, you are every FFO President's Dream volunteer. Someone who's self-sufficient, no drama, gets the job done every time, and finds a replacement for herself before it's time to move on. So Tracy, on behalf of the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board, I want to thank you for all you do for our kids, all your efforts to engage our students in the caring and collaborative learning environment that we strive so hard to provide for them, for all you do to support the mission of our district, that of helping our students take what they learn here and transfer it to life beyond Catalina Foothills so that they can become contributing and healthy members of our wider community. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your experience, and your dedication. You truly make a difference in the lives of our students and staff, and we are grateful. So if everybody would stand and all join me in a round of applause to congratulate and thank Tracy. So I have a couple of things for you. There's always some swag. The first thing that you get is a copy of the nominating letter that was provided by Ms. Davidson and Ms. Zaga. You get this Suitable for Framing Catalina Foothills School District Super Volunteer Certificate in appreciation for dedicated service to the students of the district, and this very cool keychain that says Making a Difference. This is all for you. Small tokens of our thankfulness for everything that you've done for our students. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here with us tonight. I know you're a busy mom. Did you guys want to add anything?
We are grateful for 7 years of her time, her energy, and positive attitude.
Yeah. You're like a dynasty, 7 years, right? All 3 kids. That's great.
And don't go without a photo,
That's right. Step over to
right?
This is my favorite part.
Can't leave without a photo.
Yeah, Andrea and Carmela, you should
Yes, everybody that's here to support Tracy can come in.
Come on in, Sunrise Tracy.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. all so much for being here this evening. We know that you're all busy and have other places to be, although we'd love for you to stay. We understand if you need to leave. The next item on our agenda is public comments. And as I mentioned, I did not receive any purple forms from anyone in the audience tonight, and there are no signers up online. Okay, so that means we will go on to the consent agenda. Do any board members have any items they would like to pull for further discussion?
I just have a couple. I don't usually have any, but 3.5, I would like to pull the fundraising.
Yes?
And 3.8, the RFP for employee benefits consulting services.
Any others? Okay, as to the consent agenda, aside from 3.5 and 3.8, may I have a motion?
Wait a minute, it wasn't 3.5, I apologize, it's 3.7. The
Oh,
approval
gifts
of
and-
gifts and donations.
gifts and donations.
I messed that up, sorry, folks.
Yes, no problem. Okay, aside from 3.7 and 3.8, if there are no other items to pull, then I would ask for a motion.
Okey-doke. Oh, I have to get to the motion, I apologize.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can we just have clarification on which ones are being pulled? I
Yeah,
heard a
point-
few different
Sure,
numbers.
3.7 and 3.8.
Okay, thank you.
Figures, we can read it. Okay. I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 3.1, the governing board February 8, 2025 special meeting minutes as presented. 3.2, the governing board February 11, 2025 regular meeting minutes as presented. 3.3, the expense voucher memorandum as presented. 3.4, the field trip request memorandum as presented. 3.5, the fundraising request memorandum as presented. 3.6, the personnel memorandum as presented. Then 3.9, the updated estimates to the cooperative purchase list for fiscal year 2024-2025 as presented. And 3.10, the award of general acrylics for the track replacement at Orange Grove Middle School in the amount of $638,000, $761.64 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. With respect to item 3.7, approval of the gifts and donations memorandum. Eileen.
I just wanted to make one comment as I'm preparing for the presentation to Tracy, and then I see this gifts and donations memo that has almost $14,000 worth of donations to the district, over 13,000 of which was contributed by an FFO. And it just goes, I wanted to just spend a minute to underline the impact that the FFOs have on our school district. $13,000 in 1 month. Comes from several different FFOs, but just understanding what Tracy does for our students every day. There's a whole cadre of parents out there who are engaged in the effort. And again, $13,000 in 1 month from our FFOs. And I just wanted to give them a shout out.
And that's not necessarily unusual
No.
for us to see donations of this
Of
size
magnitude.
or smaller sizes, but repeated month after month after month from FFOs. That really shows the partnership of our schools and our families and our FFOs and our other entities that help collaborate with us to achieve the goals of high student achievement. Thank you. Any other discussion as to item 3.8, the gifts and donations memorandum? Would you like to make a motion?
Keep leaving my motion pages.
Yeah,
Anyone
don't do
still on
that.
it?
Don't do it again, because the next one's coming.
I know.
3.7, not 3.8.
I
I'm
thought we
sorry.
would just do them together, but
No,
that's
no,
okay.
I don't think you can.
Can't do it that way. All right, here I go. It's coming. 3.7. I move that the governing board approve the acceptance with gratitude of the gifts and donations memorandum as presented.
Thank you. There's a motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Eileen, 3.8.
So I really just wanted to pull this one. This is the approval of the award of RFP 25-3-30, Employee Benefits Consulting Services. It's for $32,000. And I just wanted, what kind of services does this purchase for the school district?
Sure, this is under Ms. Westover's
HR.
supervision.
Yes, well, this consulting company helps us with all of our benefits, and I'm just gonna list them, because there's
Okay.
a list. They help us secure our health, dental, life, our disability, our dental, vision, short-term, long-term disability, employee assistance programs, flexible spending accounts, health savings accounts. They also help us to ensure that we're in compliance with all of our Medicare, FMLA, all of the federal and state, any legislative changes. They keep us up to date with those things. They help us with any benefit issues that we're having. They also help us go out for our for bids when we need with our insurance plans. They provide us with data on how our employees are being served and what we look like in the market, essentially with our benefit program. They also help us with our open enrollment period, so that we ensure that all of our employees are registered appropriately for
Oh, I was thinking
benefits as
open
well.
enrollment students and like,
Oh,
what
yeah,
do they have
yeah,
to do with
no.
that? So you mean open enrollment for health benefits?
Health
Yes.
benefits, yes. Those are some of the larger
The larger
things, but
things.
they help us with, employee assistance programs, and health programs, just general health programs that we allow our employees to participate in, and they help us design programs so that we can make sure our employees are receiving the highest quality benefits we can provide. They also help us, they talk with us about funding and contributions, so they help counsel us through all of those.
That whole process.
Yes,
Is nice as we're coming into budget.
all the
Yes.
time. It's
Thank you.
monthly.
Thank you. I just thought the audience might want to know, and I had just a few questions about that, so that's all I wanted to hear.
And I know that this is a renewal, so this is a company we obviously have used and are satisfied with.
Yes. I think we're in year 18 with them.
Oh, really?
Yes, we've used them for a long time. It was a small family-owned company, and then it got sold, and so it's under new name and management, but it's the
How
same.
long ago did they get sold?
Oh, quite a while ago, actually, probably
Usually you see a
7
drop in service when
Yeah.
something like that happens, so it's great. that
7
they're
years ago.
there for us. Wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, matters of discussion with respect to 3.8? May I have a motion?
Sure. I move the governing board approve the award of RFP 25-3-30, Employee Benefits Consulting, a one-year contract with the option to renew for 4 additional years to Gallagher Benefit Services Incorporated with an estimated first-year cost of $32,000 as presented.
Thank you. There's a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor for approval of item 3.8 on the consent agenda, please indicate aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The next item on our agenda is 4.1, which is the public hearing on revisions to fiscal year 2025 budget. This is revision number 2. This is the time and place that is fixed on the agenda to receive public input regarding the fiscal year 2025 budget. If there are any comments from anyone in attendance at this public hearing wishing to address the governing board regarding the fiscal year 2025 budget, this is the time and place to make those comments. A copy of the fiscal year 2025 budget is included for item 4.2 of the agenda for public view. I'll just take a moment again and note that I didn't receive any purple forms indicating public comments from anyone in in-person attendance. I'll give a moment to just check. I don't see anybody who has requested to speak remotely this evening. Without any public comments then from anyone in person or remote, I will close the public hearing.
There we go.
That brings us to agenda item 4.2, which is approval of the revisions to the fiscal year 2025 budget, revision number 2. This evening, our Director of Finance, Lisa Tatel, is present to walk us through these revisions, and this is an action item for this evening.
Good evening. I am reporting on the second budget revision for fiscal year 2025. On the cover sheet, unrestricted capital increased by $1.79 million due to decreasing the transfer of DAA to M&O. The district uses current year DAA to assist in balancing the straw budget. We often modify this transfer once other variables are considered and when the district receives their final prior year carry-forward dollars. The breakdown of this change is further explained on page 7 of 8 of the budget forms. On page 3 of 8, classroom site fund budget limit on line 16 increased due to a decrease in fiscal year 2024 actual expenditures, as well as an increase to the fiscal year 2024 interest revenue. The district does not yet know these finalized amounts when the district completed the first budget revision in July of 2024. The primary purpose of this mid-year budget revision was to accurately portray the DAA transfer to M&O, which showed up as a high-risk item on the Governing Board Auditor General Report distributed to all Governing Board members. On page 7 of 8, on line 2C, DAA transfer to M&O decreased by $1.59 million. This change is primarily due to a larger M&O carry forward than budgeted. In addition, the decreased transfer is also due to the allocation of one-time free and reduced and DAA funding, which is reflected on line 9F of this same page, and the amount was $195,000. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Can you talk about why the relatively large increase in carry forward? It would say to me that we budgeted for things that we were going to expend last year that didn't happen. And can you just talk about that a little bit?
Good question. Well, we always budget 4% of the prior year's revenue control limit, and it does often come in larger than what's budgeted. Sometimes it's maybe unpaid time for payroll benefits. What do you think?
I think wasn't it also some of the, in student enrollment, we had a higher student enrollment that we didn't account for? Wasn't that our ADM? Our ADM, actually.
Oh, in this budget?
Yeah.
Well,
2024.
it's mostly how we structure the budget, and how we plug all of the, revenue amounts. But it's just, I think I would probably have to go in and really look to see exactly why, but it's.
And when you say you budget 4%, you mean that's what you budget for the carryover?
Yes.
Because that, if I remember correctly, that used to be the maximum we could ever carry
Right.
over until they lifted those limits.
So we've just kept.
So it's just a matter of waiting till everything kind of reconciles itself out. We always budget for 4%, and this year we got a nice
We
boondoggle.
had,
A little bit of a boondoggle anyway.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa, thanks for the report, always appreciated. You mentioned the audit from months ago, I think it was.
Yes.
I'm forgetting the actual timestamp.
January.
Yeah, which came out slightly earlier, before some of these final reconciliations happened. Can you help us to understand, next steps? So for example, will this revised budget then go to the auditors and get that situation cleared up, or what happens there? And maybe Dr. Bartlett, I should be addressing the question to you, I'm not sure. But
We wish that's what would happen,
yeah.
but no, that will not happen until next year. it'll show up next year with the Auditor General's report. So they're not gonna make any corrections to the report that they've already put out, but we will, next year, when we get this same report, you can go and, there's an area where you can click to see the previous years, and it should be corrected at that point, so.
Yeah, that's not to say it's not going to be reflected in any other Auditor General report that's sent out. So I did, write them an email to let them know that I thought it was a little, not cool to send out such, to set such data that when a year isn't complete. And also without knowing that, we have other, not only do we have carry forward in DAA, but we have other sources of, we have other funds that can provide capital. So for them to just display it that way is, I think.
Correct, because we have the bonds and overrides that we do, that provides us with money that we don't have to use our DAA funds for. And so we are able to then use those, and it's legal, it is legal to transfer up to 1 year's DAA into your M&O. So to put us at high risk because we didn't transfer the whole amount.
That was about half.
Yeah, so to put us at risk for that was, as she says, not cool.
Yeah.
Because you're allowed to do that. It's an allowable transfer.
It's really odd. I mean, these are the same auditors who come here year after year after year. You would think they know our district.
Well, this is the Auditor General. It's
Yeah, no.
not our.
This is the Auditor General, you're right.
The Auditor General did,
Okay,
yes, sent
so
out
that
that.
is different.
Yes.
So is there any, going back to this, is there any financial risk that we're exposed to for this next year until that situation's cleared?
No, we have no financial risk.
Or any other negative
Repercussions
repercussions from this report, which is now not accurate, right? I mean, if they had the information that we have now, then we would not have been high risk, correct?
Yeah, that's,
So,
I mean, it's from $0 to $293,000, but it also just, I mean, to send it out so early when we haven't even finished the AFR, so the AFR is in October, and then that would allow us to at least know our carry forward so that could go back down,
so was the timing this year different?
No, I had never seen that report before. I think it must be a new report that's sent to the governing board members. Have you ever?
Yeah, I didn't even receive it.
Oh, yeah, we sent it to you.
Sent it to me.
Yeah.
Also,
We changed that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, well, I just lost my train of thought, I'm sorry.
So if this is a new report, and it looks like it's something that may be repeated annually, is there an opportunity to alert the Auditor General to the problem with the timing? And I'm sure that the Auditor General doesn't want to put out incorrect information.
The other thing that what I found my train of thought was that, we typically do a budget revision in December, which we did not because we didn't have that one-time funding yet.
Yes.
So it's several
Okay.
issues that are compounding it.
Okay.
We will typically do a budget revision in December,
Yes.
and hopefully that will alleviate any of this, even if they do it in January.
I see.
So,
Okay.
yes, that's
Are we
it.
limited to the number of budget revisions we can do?
No.
We just need to hardwire that into our process.
Yeah, it
sounds
seems like we do.
Which we always have, but we waited because we got word that we didn't need to, right?
Yeah, we
And we didn't have the, because we had a very clean AFR, correct? The email you got why we didn't need to do the budget revision. And we didn't have that one-time funding, so it really was not necessary to do a budget revision at that time, so we just
Yeah,
held off.
we're required to do a budget revision if you exceed 1% of your general budget limit. So if you don't exceed that 1%, then you're not required by law to have one.
So this year, we can just put that into the process regardless of
Absolutely.
whether we're within that.
Yes.
Yeah, there's always going to be something we can revise in our budget.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Right, I mean, obviously, if there's no negative repercussions, that's great, but we also don't need it out there and not be accurate.
Exactly.
It's just,
Okay. Back to this. The other question I had was page 6 of 8, Lisa. And apologies if you said this and we missed it, but in the cover letter, you say that there's federal project amounts that were updated to better reflect actual 2025 spending. Can you give us a few examples of what that means?
Oh, it just means that we have a better idea of what the carry forward and federal projects were, and then also the new funding for the year.
I'm
So-
sorry, what I mean is examples of federal projects. What constitutes a federal
Oh.
project in this context?
So it's everything from 1 through 21.
Okay.
Which it looks like mostly relates to Title
Title
I, special
programs.
Title I
education.
special edu- yeah.
IDEA is a big part of that,
Right.
Remind me what IDEA is.
for special education.
ESEA is also.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions of Lisa?
Not from me at this point.
If there are no other questions regarding this proposed budget revision, then I would ask for a motion.
I'm happy to make the motion if you wish.
Sure.
I move the governing board approve the fiscal year 2025 expenditure budget revision number 2 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the budget revision of item 4.2, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for the highlighted copies.
Yes.
That was
Thank you
great.
for the highlighted
Then I really
copies.
left them at home on my counter.
Oh,
Highlighted copies.
Super helpful.
But it helped while I was studying,
it really just helps you focus
it
on
does.
where, because there's lots of pages to that budget.
Super helpful. Okay, I don't need this anymore, right? We're done with,
Correct.
okay. I like to have a clean workspace. We are moving on to discussion and reports. Item 5.1, which I'm gonna get in 1 second. Item 5.1 is the classified retention report. This information represents staff responses from the spring of 2024. And to present this item, I turn to Dr. Bartlett.
Thank you. Last board meeting, we went through the certified retention report, and being that this is the first year that we have actually surveyed our classified staff, I really felt like it was important to pull that out and do it at a separate time so that we can give the attention that it deserves. We had this report, this survey was given in the spring of 2024. We had 157 classified staff members take the survey out of about 350, so the return rate was not as great as we had with our certified. They were able to take it at the same time as the certified staff if they were at a site. However, some of our classified staff are not at a site during the time that they're going to, they work at our administrative offices or somewhere else, so they weren't at a site. But we did have 157, and overwhelmingly, they were just really happy to be asked. That I had many people after the survey was given to say thank you, that you were asking us for this information that validates us as employees. We know that retention of staff, not just certified, but classified as well, and just employees in general, is a national topic of interest. We know that in the United States, we're facing shortages of classified workers, which includes, educational assistants, administrative assistants, technology personnel, all different types of classified employees. We're trying to address the shortage through wages increases, appealing to retired teachers to come back, using other funding sources, and increasing their wages or hire additional personnel, which is no different than what everyone in the nation is trying to do. So, oops, I didn't see it.
I'm moving.
So classified positions in CFSD, this is just one small portion of that graphic that I have there. Those are some of the classified positions. Our greatest number of classified positions really come in classroom and educational inclusion educational assistants. That's our largest employee group of classified staff. All other groups have between 1 and 10 employees in them. These are employees who are paid on an hourly basis. They include educational assistants, office staff, custodians, computer technicians, things like that. These are national challenges as well. And they're realized in CFSD as well. Competition with private sector is a real issue for us. Private sector has many more funds available to them than we have to offer attractive wages to them and benefits. So that is a challenge for us. Many classified positions in school districts are not year-round because some of the positions only work when students are there. And students are not there 260 days of the work calendar. Some employees often have to find employment during the summer months to create year-round work. That can be a concern. There are concerns about safety, working conditions, and a lack of respect. The work that they do, they want to be respected for their work and acknowledged. They often handle multiple responsibilities. Many of you know the work is work comes and you do it as it comes. It's not just these are your responsibilities. So the workload can be heavy and it contributes to stress and burnout. And then some of this classified staff lack access to professional development and training that enhance their skills and career prospects. So these are, like I said, national challenges, but they are our challenges as well. We all have those same challenges. So the questions from the classified survey are very similar to those of the certified. We just tailored them a little bit to some classified work conditions as well. So this first question, how long have you been employed? You can see we've got most of our employees, a good chunk of our employees in 6 to 10 years, which is really amazing when you think about it. So we have a nice spread. We've got many who are just starting, and 20%, almost 20% in their second year. So we have a nice spread about their experience levels.
Actually, it's 40% at 6 years or more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Amazing.
Yes. That is amazing. And then what level do they work at? Of course, the elementary level is going to have, we have the most students in our elementaries. And then the second highest is our high school. So, of course, where the enrollment is where we're going to have the most employees. So, also at the elementary level, we have more educational assistants, which is our largest group, than we do at the other sites. Before coming to CFSD, you can see most of our employees are coming from a different career. So this says a lot about why they want to do the work, why they want to stay, why they're really coming back to give back to their community, or they want a part-time job in retirement. We have a lot of that as well, but we have almost half of them are coming from a different career. So they've been employed. Oops, went the wrong way. Why did they choose to apply to CFSD? You can see our reputation, the work schedule, specific position that they wanted, and then their children attend the school. Mm-hmm. They're all very big reasons. And again, they other reasons that they marked, which was 20%, the location of the school, the commute, and that the role they applied for seemed similar to a position that they had before. So those are all reasons why they've selected to apply for our positions. What helped them accept a position? This is very interesting. The top 3 reasons were the job responsibilities, interactions with the principal and supervisor during the interview, and the school district reputation. So salary and wage were not part of those top indicators, which is interesting for why they decided to accept the position. For some, it was the last factor that they decided, so.
Really interesting.
Isn't that? And then question 6, what motivates them to stay employed? Again, there's kind of an even split about, for staying employed. About, they had about 20% for salary and wage, 20% almost for location to home. Then we went down to 14% for the principal administrative support, and the job responsibilities were also about 14%. And then other factors that were a priority were that coworkers and collaboration, the student population, and then the benefits as well. So even though salary and wage were ranked lower, relationships are very key, but salary is still very much important. Salary and wage is still very important.
Well, and in recent years, we've done quite a bit at this level. I think
I'll get to that.
raised those wages over the
30%.
last. I was going to
since-
say, it's even bigger than we did with the certificated staff.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised to see that being a top reason at this point in time.
Yes. Yeah, 30% since I have it in a later slide.
2022 or 2023,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yes. And then this is how satisfied are they with their salary, wage, benefits. And, between 66 and 96% were either very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with each aspect of their job. Their work schedule had the highest satisfaction with 96.1%. Co-workers and collaboration were 95% almost. Security and safety measures at their site, they've been very appreciative of the safety measures that we've implemented. That's almost 94%. And job responsibilities they're very satisfied with that. Of course, their lowest satisfaction is with their salary and wage. With only 66% either very satisfied or somewhat satisfied, and 33% not very satisfied. That's to be expected. Then the next question is overall, how satisfied are they with their working experience in CFSD? And you can see they're very satisfied or somewhat satisfied. Very few are somewhat dissatisfied. And in a classified position like this, if you are very dissatisfied, there's no reason for you to stay in that position.
No contract?
There's no contract. They don't have to fulfill a year-long contract. So if they are not happy, they do have that opportunity to look elsewhere. So this is, again, not surprising. So we asked them how, if they were offered the same or similar position, how likely were they to take it? So you can see more than 75% of them were very likely, and another 14% were somewhat likely. So it's, looking back at the time we gave that, we're like, okay, we should have a pretty high retention rate for this school year here. So it's, and we did. We had a very good retention rate. Then we asked their immediate goals. And again, as with the certified staff, most of them want to stay in their same position at their same location. And that's not surprising. But there are some that would consider other things. Some of the responses for the others, which are almost 10%, they might be retiring, they want to find full-time position, they want to continue working for the district and take on added responsibilities for a higher wage, or one of them wanted to become a special education teacher. So, yes. So it's a great, if you really are thinking about becoming a teacher, doing a classroom educational assistant position or an inclusion educational assistant position is a great way to understand what the position is about and help make you decision to enter into the profession. Then we asked about their goals for the 3 to 5 years. Again, they want to continue in the same position, but we had a little bit more movement that they might consider a different position. And then we had those other responses again, which were 21%. Retirement, seek a full-time position, seek office work, return to home life. And then question 12 was, how likely are you to look for a position outside of CFSD at the end of the school year? Yeah, not very many. Not likely at all is 61, almost 62%, which is a high, and somewhat unlikely, another 20%. So almost 80%, or it is more than 80%, really weren't very likely, which is a great retention rate for us then. Then question 13, what factors would influence you to look for a position outside? Salary and wage, we know that, especially in today's economy, that's on everyone's mind. But you can see the other ones are pretty evenly split. You know, their commute, the benefits. I still think we have a lack of understanding about what the benefits of our benefits, the true benefits of our benefits. We have a very robust benefit program, and when you just have them, you just have them. Until they go someplace else and realize they're different someplace else, they don't really realize what a great benefit package that's part of. But, you know, 25% of them thought a benefit package would help make them look outside. And again, those other ones are about 20%, lack of school administrator support, work climate, moving out of town, or making a career change. So we do know that there is, some of the other responses that I wanted to go into was there was too much retirement taken out of my check, the hours available, disruptive or hard to handle students, and disappointment with chronic coworkers' absences. Yes.
That's very interesting.
We know that the idea of taking too much out of their checks for retirement, we have no control over that. Again, I think that that's a misunderstanding that we can clear up with people to help them understand that, and we even added that to our application, that I understand that the Arizona State Retirement System requires us to take out so much from each paycheck, and they don't understand that anything that they contribute, we also contribute. And again, a very big benefit to them is that, you know, if they're really just entering the workforce, they're not thinking of retirement.
Yes.
And if they're at the end, they don't see the benefit because they're not going to put in enough to get it out. So, but education is going to be what we need to do with this, about
I
this.
think they're maybe not reading their benefit statements that we now give them at the end of each year. Or do they need training on how to read the benefit statement and what it means?
Well, I'm not sure
I
if
don't know
they're
how they're
reading it.
delivered, you know, I don't know how they get them.
Well, it's on their, they have a portal that they go into for their Munis self-service where their checks are, and every one of them then has a total compensation that's
So they
listed
actually
there.
have to go in and look for it?
Yes.
Ah.
And I think it's important to remember a lot of these employees are kind of on the spectrum of the workforce. So when she says entering the workforce, we have a lot of college students that are maybe, you know, doing this on the side. And so, you know, they're not as maybe aware
Sure.
of why, you know, setting that much of your check aside in retirement is great at this point. And then on the other end, like Denise said, you've got some that are
Right.
potentially, you know,
They're never gonna build a
second
career.
They've already
Yeah.
retired from one.
Yeah.
But here's since 2020, 2021 school year, they've had a 30% increase in wages for our classified staff. Since 2020, 2021, yes, it's been 30%. In 2022-23, that was the highest, which we
It's like
did a
13 or 14%.
14% increase, yes. How long do we expect to continue working in CFSD? Again, it's really pretty evenly split, a lot of uncertainty. And then they plan to retire, which is great to see too. 26.8% really plan to work till retirement.
Hopefully those are all 20-year-old kids.
We would like that, yes.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be very nice.
Somehow I doubt it.
Yes. and then has the opportunity to participate in our retire rehire program, which we explained last time as it's a retention strategy where they can retire and draw their Arizona State retirement pension and come back to work through a third-party vendor and work in their same position, their same hours, or the same exact salary they were making or wage that they were making. And again, this unsure is, you know, if they haven't heard about it or they don't know, but also I think because many of our classified people have come from a different career and maybe have retired from a different career, this isn't of interest to them. But in our view, any one employee that takes advantage of this is a benefit to us because it's going to be retaining a valued employee. So regardless of how many participate each year, it's a very good benefit that we want to continue to offer so that they are, so that we're retaining our highly skilled workforce. Then these are the themes that came out, and of course, the highest theme was in wage and salary. You know, then the next one was their satisfaction with their position. There was a desire of our classified staff. They want by some, 6 of them, they want to spread their pay out over the 12 months. So.
Didn't realize we didn't offer that to classified.
Well, no, we don't, because classified are paid for the hours they work at the time. And even though the state says we have to pay them within 7 days of them working those hours, there are ways we can do this. And some of the larger districts that have many employees do this. And I've asked Mrs. Tatel to look into what it would take for us to offer this. We don't know how many would actually do it because it would mean that their paychecks are going to be very much smaller. And so they might do it a year and go, oh, no, I don't want to do that. But there was that interest, and so it's something that we could, you know, explore. Of course, they'd like to be paid for all breaks and holidays. That's a yeah, that's a budgetary expense, of course. You know, but the satisfaction that they said that they had a high satisfaction with their colleagues. They enjoyed their work site, their coworkers, and the knowledge that they gained. They also some of the challenges were that they had limited growth opportunities, sometimes feeling underappreciated or being unnoticed for the work that they perform. And that feeling there's sometimes a disconnect between administration and the office staff and between the office staff and the other support staff. So those are things that we would work on at the site levels with our administrators to do that. And of course, workload is always a mention as far as a theme in surveys like this. But overall, you can see there weren't a lot of extra comments. So.
Grow your own program.
So Grow Your Own program is where you have a program to move, like a classroom EA, get them the education and the training and help them become teachers. That's a Grow Your Own program. We do not have that, no. So our conclusions are very similar to what they were for our certified staff. Overall, our classified staff are satisfied with the work that they're doing for the district, which is, you know, wonderful to hear. We want our employees to be fulfilled and happy doing the work that they're doing. I think that's one of the benefits of being in a classified position is there's a wide variety of positions that you can choose from. So if one position isn't your cup of tea, you can potentially move to a different position. And there's lots of different positions available to them. So that satisfaction, we all know we want to be satisfied in our work that we're doing, as well as that appreciation. Compensation is the largest challenge, of course. You know, we've all been hit with increased costs of everything. It is our goal to always provide the highest wage that we can with our budget constraints. They recognize that we have budget constraints. They don't always recognize the larger picture of some of the constraints, and I think, again, education by us would be helpful for that. But I think overall, I think we're making great strides in that. We try, as I've said, we try to do compensation comparisons with other districts around Tucson so that we can see if they're giving a higher increase in salaries and wages. We want to match that or exceed that. We like to be between 1 and 3 in all of them. Sometimes, most of the time we are. Sometimes we're not, but most of the time we're in the top 3 for our wages. So that's where we really want to be. Again, then the other conclusion is there's that general lack of knowledge of specific funding challenges and then the state statutes for retirement contributions. I think that's a big one. You know, that is really unique to education. And if you haven't been in education before, you may have heard of 401k programs, but those are optional. This isn't an optional. This is our state requirement, and I don't think there's.
Dumb question. Do they have FICA come out of their checks as well?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
No wonder. It's quite the hit.
Well, FICA is part of our kind of our, our fixed costs. FICA is so, but 12.5% of our fixed costs are the state retirement. So 12%, but then you think, wow, I'm getting 25% of my wage because I'm contributing 12.5 and my employer is doing 12.5. So 25%, a paycheck, is really getting contributed to the retirement.
I mean, if you're looking at it from a
Yes.
long-term perspective
Yes.
and understand the challenge with some of these positions that are filled with much younger kids.
Yes. Yeah, they don't see
Who
themselves
might not
retired.
stay in public service in the state of Arizona
Exactly.
beyond a couple of years working for CFSD.
Yeah.
So,
And then, like I said, that desire for year-round work or to spread their pay over the 12 months a year is a big desire. We just don't have all of our positions that are 12 months, but we can surely look at spreading their pay over that 12 months. So that's an easy thing that we can offer. Like I said, we don't know how many people will actually take that, but it's worth a try. So here's our district impact. We have to have retention of both our certified and classified employees for ongoing improvement. They're working hand in hand. We can't do any work without both of those pieces together. They provide essential support services that enhance our functioning and ensuring that the educators can really focus on the teaching and the students in front of them. The roles create a cohesive educational system for us and effective collaboration and communication. When you see a classroom educational assistant and the teacher working hand in hand, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful relationship. When it doesn't work, it's not very beautiful. And so we really work for that cohesive relationship between our certified and our classified staff. Again, prioritizing retention strengthens our workforce and it cultivates that culture of commitment and shared purpose, our commitment to them and their commitment to us, because it is a shared commitment that we have to have. And I think just investing our time in getting this information from them and asking for them has been a nice step in showing our commitment to them, as well as our commitment to increasing their wages along the way. And then, by investing in professional growth and the well-being of both groups, we can build the resilient foundation for our long-term success. So we are committed to that professional learning. Oftentimes the professional learning it looks more like specific training, especially if it's a classroom EA position, because they're trained to work with a specific type of student or learner. And so the training is kind of hands-on training at the moment sometimes, but we can certainly provide other employee groups as well, professional learning, and we're committed to that. So are there any questions about our classified retention survey? Again, this was just the first year, so we only had that 1 year of data. In the next go-around, we'll be doing that again. And we'll
Not
have,
annually, though, this is.
no, it's not annually, it's every 3
Every
years.
3 years, yeah.
Yes. So,
I'd be interested to know what strategies you might be employing to increase participation in the survey, because that was a
50%?
45% response rate. So I know that there were accommodations made for the certified staff. What can we do to increase?
yeah, like I said, with the classified staff, if they are directly working at a school, they were included in that meeting. So it's all the people that aren't really directly tied to a school in bringing them together to do the survey at the same time. Is this, getting them to do it at a specific time has been our best strategy for the overall participation rate.
So it's not advisable to send it out via email and have a time, please respond.
We've done that, and that's what we
So I assume that if you bring them together, that that time is paid, that they're,
yes,
okay, that might be
it would be during their work time.
Yeah.
We did, at the sites, we did it during their early release or late start, so they were already at the job site.
Thank you.
And if I can add to that, because I'm actually here right now presenting results of an employee study tomorrow morning, that's pretty typical, that 45 to 55% participation rate for folks that are not on site, where you have that additional challenge. So it's not something that is surprising to me. I will add a comment there that one of the other things that tends to improve participation over time is when that audience sees that their opinions have been heard and acted upon. And so communicating that back, I think, is going to be a really important part of increasing participation next year and moving forward.
So what is the plan for that?
Plan for that, yeah.
yes.
Well, again, we're not gonna do this again for 3 more years.
No, but
So,
have, what, these results, have they
oh,
been shared?
yes,
Have they been-
they have not been shared. They've been shared with the administrator right now, but I don't think they've been shared to the staff. So we will plan a time to do that.
I'd also like to go back to the benefits session, if I remember correctly from our meeting a couple of weeks ago, that also emerged as a theme. So I'm curious to hear a little bit more what your thoughts are on, increasing knowledge and understanding of the benefits that we provide amongst certified as well as classified staff.
Yeah. We do an onboarding. We do an onboarding and we discuss the benefits package when they're hired, initial hiring. We also offer sessions throughout the year to understand their benefits. So during the open enrollment period, for sure, we have actually gone out to sites. Surprisingly, they are very low attendance.
Why is that? Is it because it interferes with work hours or work days?
No, we have thought long and hard about why. Once an employee makes their initial selection of benefits, they don't want to think about that anymore, and they just give me the same one that I had last year. We find that over and over again, even though we say, but the benefits have changed. This one might be a better one for you. You should look at all of them. I don't really want that. I like my insurance that I have right now. So there's kind of a bit of apathy. Not really apathy, I guess. It's just comfort. Yeah, it's comfort. If they haven't really had an issue with using the benefits or haven't had any problem with trying to access the benefits, then they want to stay with what they have.
So are you going, help us to understand, are you going to continue to think about things, actions you can take here? Because I'm seeing that, this common thread of this lack of awareness of the impact and the import of our benefits package is actually a demotivator in some instances. So it's something that I'm I'm sure you want to get ahead of. I'm curious to understand better, you know, how you're going to do that. And I know, I'm not trying to say you should have an answer right now. I'm just trying to understand.
No, in
your
our
thought
recruitment
process.
efforts, we always,
But it needs to go beyond that, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because we're talking, this issue transcends new recruits, doesn't it? It's existing long-term staff as well that we're seeing. You know, the numbers imply from both surveys that it's not just the new recruits who have this disconnect, that it is also the
well, the
existing
other thing
long-term
with
staff.
that I think impacts the benefits is that, you know, you're only eligible for medical benefits if you're working at a 0.75 or above. If you're working 0.5, between 0.5 and 0.74, you get vision and dental for your whole family paid for free. So they don't have any contribution. So that could be some of the benefits piece as well. It's not all a lack of understanding. So some of it could be that, well, I would like medical benefits even if I'm working at 0.5. You know, it could be that as well. We don't know. We don't know that it's just a lack of knowledge.
Completely understand. So hence my question, and apologies if I'm not being clear here, is not to expect an answer tonight, but rather just to understand how you plan to dive into this, right? Is it something, for example, that maybe Mindy's taking as, you know, in your role, are you going to do a deep dive, or are you pulling together like a tiger team, or something to look into this, or is there no plan? You know, or do you think this isn't something that needs to be dived into?
Well,
Can I ask for clarification?
Yeah.
Are you asking whether we're ever going to be able to offer medical benefits at less than that? You're talking about the
how do we educate?
the
them?
communication piece.
What's the
Okay,
communication?
okay.
Yeah, well, we'll look.
Good clarification, thanks.
Yeah, we'll look at not just our onboarding, but our, when our open enrollment begins, looking at what can we do at that time to engage more people with the information about their benefits. Open enrollment is really the time to do that because,
October, is that right?
no, ours is in May.
Oh, it's in May for
Ours is
schools.
in May,
The end of school.
yes.
When they're all, and they don't want to think about
So,
anything.
I do think we need to look at how we're publicizing, because the schools truly have some amazing benefits.
Yeah.
That I think, you know, many people that either have worked in schools their entire life might not even be aware that they have, because they haven't seen the private sector. You know, the
Exactly.
retirement system alone is, you know, pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
And being able to publicize that, you know, my hope is maybe I can find out what we've been doing, potentially work with Julie on
Yeah.
some public relation pieces, maybe some small videos, things that we can put out there that we can help educate. But it is, you know, Dr. Bartlett's right. They're like, I know this is what I've done forever.
Yes.
And so when they're talking about benefits here, I think a lot of, in terms of the classified workforce, has a lot to do with a lot of part-times that aren't necessarily getting the full. We have people that are just working for the benefits because
Yes.
they know how good they
Yeah,
are.
absolutely.
And then we have that separation in our workforce of that really young that aren't as educated
And
on it.
may still be on their parents.
So we have
Yeah,
parents or-
and they might not even be taking it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of, luckily, we have some amazing retirees that come back and do these positions for us. And so they, you know, that's a whole nother need of benefits. So I think it's just a very diverse workforce here, and we need to look at how we can better publicize the things that we do, because we have some great benefits there that they wouldn't be receiving everywhere.
Agree, and I like your thinking there, and I think it's that education and understanding around what is the total compensation package, right? And which includes all of the benefits and the full spectrum of benefits. My encouragement would be if open enrollment is in May, which I didn't realize, so thanks for that. Some of that can be brought forward, right? Because May, as we all know, people are just switching off and, just getting kids hot, end of the school year, just get me out of here, right? So I know there's not a lot of time between now and then, but again, my encouragement would be to pull that forward if at all possible. Not the open enrollment itself, I mean the comms around it,
Right.
the communications around it.
You have to know what your benefits are gonna be, though.
Right, and we
there's
don't
the
know that
timing
yet.
with getting your
March.
bids back in,
Yeah.
and there's the timing.
But I don't
with
think the
making those-
education needs to be about,
Pardon?
that's not the, I understand,
Yeah.
I agree with you. However, I'm talking not about the specific education of the plan has changed from silver to gold or whatever, but rather, you know, this is what the benefits are of working within CFSD, right? And you have these different options, and I love your idea of videos, for example, right? And getting like a diverse audience in the videos of like, this is what it means to me as a retired person who's come here for my second career. This is what it means to me as, you know, a college student, you know, just starting out or whatever. I think that's fantastic. I fully appreciate, Eileen, that the communication around the actual benefits themselves will come out in open enrollment through the formal communication
And I think that when they're
mechanisms.
making those decisions is an excellent time to also say, and here's, you know, why this matters.
Agree.
But it's something we can do all year round is celebrate.
Right.
Here, did you know that we offer this wellness program? Did you know? And I know
Yeah.
we do some of that right now through our email, so it, you know, might be interesting to maybe put some competitions together or some, you know, some of the little things we can do through HR. And I think those things, you know, we could definitely increase those PR events to potentially sell some of that. And I'm sure
I
some of
also
it's
think
been tried.
the terminologies that we use that they don't understand, co-insurance,
Yeah.
deductibles, you know, giving
Doesn't
that.
help, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No.
So, you know, really explaining those terms, having a term sheet that we can help them through that, because they don't. And people glaze over when you start talking co-insurance and deductibles. Like, I don't really care. I just want to know, what am I going to pay when I go to the doctor? I don't want a surprise. I want to pay what I'm going to pay. So the terminology is not helpful sometimes. So if we can make that easier, I think that would be helpful.
Agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess now I'm confused about what the issue is, because I understood you to say when there is dissatisfaction with benefits. We weren't speaking specifically of benefits. We were talking about salaries, wages, and benefits together, right? Or was there a specific carve out for benefits?
Well, I think there is a different salary. There's salary and wages,
Yes,
and then there's benefits.
yes.
Yes, and they were different choices.
They were, okay.
In the survey.
Okay, so, and then I what I heard you say, and maybe you did, and this is just part of the picture, is that employees were dissatisfied, to the extent they were dissatisfied with benefits, it was because they weren't as comprehensive as they had expected. Was it that? Was it the cost? Is it the issue?
We don't know.
You don't know, or the fact that, I mean, we know every year that we do salaries, wages, and benefits, that we are offering at the top or near the top of any school district in Pima County in terms of the supplement, you know, the package that is offered to employees without a contribution from them.
Correct.
So to me, that says either this subset of employees may not understand that that's a rarity,
That could be part of it.
and also the issue with, well, you have to work 0.75
Correct.
or more
And that's
to
what we
get the
don't
benefit.
know.
So that's why I asked your question, is there a world in which employees that work 0.5 to 0.74 can have some kind of participation in our benefits at a pro rata contribution?
So that there was a time when we did offer that, but with the Affordable Care Act,
Yeah,
you disadvantage people if
Oh.
if you are offering insurance that they cannot then
I see.
afford. It becomes unaffordable
yeah,
based on their wage. So what we did is we paid for their vision and dental fully for their
I see.
family to compensate for that, so that they could.
ding them in the
Correct.
marketplace. Okay,
Correct.
I get it.
And if you look at why they're returning,
Yes.
50% of them ranked benefits as one of the
Right.
top 3. So,
So it's-
I think it's a mixed bag right now.
Yeah.
Where you probably need to maybe
Yes.
get a little deeper into the questioning of what the problem is. But half of them that's the reason they're coming back.
Right.
So, and it may be that in their first few years, they're not really aware, but then by the time they've been here, they're like, oh, this is great.
Or they had to go use it.
Right.
Or they went and did something else for a while and.
Yes,
Right.
benchmarked.
exactly,
Collects insurance
exactly.
until they have to use it.
But yes,
Absolutely.
that's why we don't have, that's why we have those differentiated benefits.
And even that kind of education can be really
Yes,
helpful, I think, for
yes.
people, because it's been a few years since that decision.
It has,
was
it has.
made,
Mhm.
Right? And
Right.
as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. But I needed to be reminded of it.
Right.
So,
And again, another terminology, the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
Subsidies, we don't hear
Yeah, I
about
don't know what
this
that
stuff.
is. Yeah, so, yeah. But we're aware that the education piece is big.
So you mentioned this was done at the end of the school year, last year. What was the actual retention rate of classified?
Well, that's a really dicey question to ask.
Too fluid? Okay.
Because it's very fluid. And so we don't have a real, a firm grip on what the actual retention. I would guess it's about 75%. We have our most movement within our educational assistants. That's where the most movement. It's probably a little higher than 75% actually. And we've been able to hire, fill our positions, especially the inclusion educational assistants, more fully this year. We have very few vacancies. So, and I think that is a result of us changing our substitute policy.
yeah.
And so we're making some strides.
Good.
And also our community schools program is constantly movement. There's
Oh, yeah,
constantly
the in and out of-
movement there.
Right,
So
of
that
course.
impacts the retention rate for
Right.
classifieds as well. So
It's a
big
really
one.
hard number to pin down.
Because they're not on contracts and there's no one point of the year that you can measure it, right?
And sometimes they come, they go, they come back, they go. In a year,
Yeah.
we have that.
Yeah.
they're only
Oh.
here for a season of sporting for community
Yeah.
schools, and then
Sure,
they leave, and
yeah,
then they come
there's
back, and
that.
they're here for the summer, so.
Or I'm
it's
gonna go take
very-
care of my mother, and now that she doesn't need that any longer, I'm gonna come back.
We're gonna take them, of course.
Of course.
So explain to me, please, the mechanics. So you said these are employees that do not have a contract, right?
No,
Like,
they have a notice of appointment.
I see. So they have a job description, a set number of hours. But at any point, they're at-will employees, they can just resign.
Correct.
Okay, got it. And is there too little overlap with the community school summer program to have, some of these employees who want to?
They do work there.
They do,
Sure
they
they
so
do.
they
We
shift.
recruit them, yes. We
Okay.
recruit them very heavily to work
Yeah.
at the summer programs.
That would be the opportunity to round out
Yes.
your
Be
employment.
year-round. And we have such a robust program that they can even round out their hours if there are, it is, our community schools program really, in fact, should benefit these employees a great deal. And I think it does, and they take advantage of that. But there is, when you're talking retention rates, there's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
But also our community schools program helps them get to a full 1.0
Yes.
FTE as well.
Right.
So if they're only working a 0.5
Classroom.
in the
yeah.
classroom, we can hire them for our community schools, care, and they can get a full 1.0 FTE, which,
And then they can have insurance.
and then they get
75.
insurance, correct?
On the personnel memo, you'll notice frequently that the
Yeah,
FTE
there's
is
always
changing.
pieces, yeah.
Yes.
And you might see that change 3 or 4 times throughout the year on one
Yes.
employee, and that has a lot to do with it. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Bartlett? Ms. Westover? No? Okay. Thank you for that report. Okay. Item 5.2 on our agenda is this is also a discussion report on the Pima County School Board and Superintendent Collaborative Meeting, which was held last Monday, February 17th. It was at the Amphi School District office. Present, in addition to myself, were Ms. Westover, Tom, Jacqueline, Eileen, any of you wish to report on our, I thought it was great, but.
I'm looking at like 2 pages of notes that Jacqueline took.
Okay.
As she was sitting next to me at the collaborative, so.
I did, I took 2 pages of notes.
It was nice to have, by the way, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
This was the first time it was at the Amphi District
Yeah.
meeting, and all previous years it had been at the Viscount Hotel and at Amphi it was, it's always a dinner meeting, and it was SFE, who's also our food service provider, that provided dinner, and it was
It was a rodeo dinner.
a rodeo dinner, and it was more cost efficient, and it was pretty well attended.
Good.
So,
And people dressed up.
yeah.
Did they?
Some people did. Todd Yeager, you know him.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tom was in full cowboy regalia.
Tom was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had forgotten to read my week in review, so I did not see the dress
I
code.
wore boots, but it was kind of cold, so. Anyway,
Got it.
Jacqueline.
So, there was a presentation given by Lisa Ann Smith. I got it right. Okay.
So good.
On the recent executive orders that could possibly impact education. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
But one of the notes that I took, there's a 3-point bulleted notes. EOs are not law. They are direction and guidance. You can't change the law via an executive order. And at this stage, they don't really direct us to do anything differently.
Correct.
That is verbatim what I wrote down. I was scribbling as fast as I could. So
I
she-
really appreciated her calm presentation of these things because just on the face of the
Emotional.
EOs, it creates such a sense of, oh my gosh, you know, well, how is this going to affect our kids? How is this going to affect our workplaces? And Lisa Ann just has this excellent approach to this. Nothing has changed at this point. We have to watch it, obviously, and she will be watching for us. But
It's
as you
truly
said,
a function of time
it's,
at
yes,
this point.
we just need to wait and see, and in the meantime, we do what we always do.
Our students.
Put our students first.
She also talked about some proposed state legislation, and I tend to follow the state legislation very closely. I am a political nerd that way. So it was really interesting to hear what she pulled out as some of the more interesting or high priority ones versus some of the ones that my feelings were more interesting. But, just at the Arizona legislative level, the usual accommodation bills, pronouns. This one was interesting, cell phone access. That is a big thing sweeping the nation right now. The ultra-processed foods, I also thought was really interesting. And, ultra-processed foods, I just read a book on what an ultra-processed food is, and it's basically anything wrapped in plastic. And so I started thinking, wow, that's interesting, because a lot of free and reduced lunch programs where they bring breakfast into the classroom in elementary schools, it's, here's a special kind of cereal, but it's made from a different kind of grain composition. My daughter went to a Title I school for a couple of years, and it was the same food, but slightly different composition ingredients.
But I think that bill has the
Jewish
list.
dyes and
Yeah.
things like that, because
Yes.
a legislator went to Italy and saw that they eat differently, which they do. And just more legislation about what can happen, where governing board members possibly becoming mandatory reporters, schools and employees having criminal liability for certain things, a piece about, I think that's about it. Yep. That I managed to write down, because there was a lot.
There was a lot.
At one
was
point,
quite a
I just
presentation.
paid attention.
Yeah.
That kind of dovetails with their next agenda item, which is 5.3 with respect to governmental or legislative activity, where we, which is the time that we have an opportunity to talk about what might be floating around in the state legislature impacting our schools. And I don't think Lisa Ann mentioned this, but I wanted to ask if anyone knows anything about Prop 123.
So I, paying attention super close, it's still, they're still thinking.
Yes, they're still thinking.
Getting close.
It's gonna be,
Maybe this year, but I
It's
keep
gonna be
reading some
November.
compelling
It's pretty late
arguments.
to get into,
yeah,
onto the,
it'll
we
be
can't,
November.
so there won't be a
No.
ballot measure in May.
Or
And-
August.
So in between May and November, what happens?
That the,
have to decide to refer it to the ballot, right?
well, yeah, they're gonna refer to the ballot, but our funding will be backfilled from the state.
We're not
from the
worried about
general
that.
fund. Well,
So,
worried. I mean, that's what they keep telling us until they tell us differently. We're going to assume that's correct.
From my understanding, some of what the machinations that are happening now is narrowing of scope of how that money can be spent.
Yeah, there's a disagreement between the legislature and Governor Hobbs about who that money can go to. The legislature really believes it should go to just those as defined as teachers. And that means working 100% teaching classroom students or 50% with students if you're a special education teacher. Governor Hobbs would like to open that up so that we can use it for our classified staff and our school counselors who are not teachers. So that's the disagreement on what constitutes a teacher and what percent. The other disagreement is the percent of that we would pull from the trust each year. Governor Hobbs has a higher number, the legislature has a lower number.
And then, of course, if it is referred to the ballot in November, part of the concern also is getting a campaign together to educate voters.
What it
The
is.
last time around, Ducey was governor, and he was involved very much
Yes.
in the campaign for it.
Right.
Not a lot of time.
But it was a very small margin of win that last time
Right.
too.
And it accounts for how much money? 300 million? I want to say
Yeah.
300 million
Yeah.
statewide.
300 million.
On the state lands
This
trust.
time around, we have the experience.
Right.
The big
Yes,
concern several years ago was, were we going to deplete the trust?
yes.
And that didn't.
That has
That
not
didn't
happened.
happen.
That didn't come to
So we
fruition.
can easily see
Mm-hmm.
that it's been a successful program. So I'm hoping, if the governor's office is behind this, along with the state legislature, there shouldn't be a huge no on 1, 2, 3 present. Shouldn't be, doesn't mean there won't be. But you would think that that would be a smaller minority.
We would hope, unless the percentages are very different again.
Yeah.
You know, if they're, vote no because it's gonna deplete the fund again. If we think Governor Hobbs is taking too much of a percentage, or she wants too much of the percentage of the land trust, that would be what I would foresee. But if they can agree on a percentage, it should pass easily, I would hope.
Of course, this is still an addition, if I'm understanding correctly, to the regular budget machinations about
Yes,
how
Sure.
we're going to fund
Right,
K
right,
through
right,
12
right.
education.
yes.
Of course.
Any other discussion about either the collaborative or the state legislative?
I really like the collaborative.
Yeah, it was great. It's a great meeting.
And meeting other people and seeing other school board members is always nice.
Yes. With regards to state legislature, yes, totally different subjects though. So just want to acknowledge the hard work that State Representative Nancy Gutierrez is
Oh,
doing.
yes.
She's a former CFSD parent. She is our District 18 state representative, and she is a public school teacher as well at TUSD. And she's continuing to fight the good fight at the state level on behalf of public education. Her most recent bill that is starting to clear hurdles is for free lunch for low-income students with the view to extend that to all students for free breakfast and lunch for all public school children. I think it's, we're so fortunate to have somebody who is a public school teacher representing us. in the state
Understanding what it
legislature and
is like to be
understanding
in
what
the
it's
classroom.
like to be in the classroom, absolutely. And again, a proud parent of a former CFSD parent, I guess.
And
is the way to
active.
put it.
She was an FFO
She was
president at
very
Manzanita.
active.
Yeah.
Very, very, very active, yes, yes.
Wonderful.
So we'd like to acknowledge her hard work as well on behalf of all of our public schools and all of our public school children.
You know. Thank you. That might bring us to the end of our
I think so.
agenda. We have agenda planning tomorrow. Gina and I have agenda planning with Dr. Bartlett
12:30.
at 12:30. If there are no other matters of discussion, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting with gratitude to our audience members and online visitors who came and observed our meeting this evening. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Right?
Right?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
No one's opposed.
Thank you and good night. Good night, Tom.
Thank you for
Good night,
Safe
Tom.
travels.
your time. Appreciate it.